mills is in the mouth. So, for instance, if you chew well, that will help your digestive process on all of those foods, especially those that start their digestive process in the mouth. And I want us to realize this. Everything really starts when you start chewing. It's when the stomach receives the alarm. Food is coming, food is coming. What happens when you start seeing something that is very looking good or smelling good, or even some, if I peel an orange or a lemon, what happens? You start right away, you can sense the saliva activating and everything, because your brain and your stomach is already perceiving that some things are about to come, and will start preparing. And then it will keep going in the stomach and intestines and all those things. Many of the nutrients will be absorbed in the intestines. But what I want you to realize is this. If you have simple meals, for instance, if you start right away with fruit or vegetables, with raw things that will be regulators, that will help absorb nutrients, that will help regulate your digestive process, that will help regulate your nutrients. If you start right away with that, your digestive process is already increasing in quality. But not only that will influence the digestive process. Sometimes we eat something, we eat a little meal. And I'm not saying I'm recommending a menu or something like that. I'm just giving you an example. Let's say I eat something that will really take 3 hours, 4 hours to be digested and start getting absorbed into my body. Sometimes, if I just go into a more complex, if I eat something that is more complex, that will increase my digestive time span. So instead of 3 hours, or 2 hours, or 4 hours, I might be looking at 5 or 6 hours. But sometimes, let's say I ate and it was a very nice meal, but I felt like something a little bit more complex. And I'm going into some add-ons, a lot of sugar, or some people will like to eat a chocolate or something. Just a little piece like this can increase your digestive like 24 hours or even more to be processed, and all this process is requiring from your stomach. Most of the fast food or processed food we eat will increase our digestive process. What is the problem with the digestive process being so long? Well, the problem is, many of us, as we eat, we feel we are a little numb. We spoke about that last Sabbath. So if you have long digestive processes, you will have your brain with less activity, and it's not 100% of its capacity. So what happens is that this will also decrease the quality of your thinking and the quality of your spiritual interaction. So long digestive processes will numb your frontal lobe and block your communication with God, and your spiritual discernment will block your discernment about good and evil. So some people will stuff the stomach with a lot of those processed foods. Some of those things we see, if you go to, you'll find many experiences about it. Some of those things, for instance, some hamburgers or some chips, people have placed that and they stay there for a long time without deteriorating, because they take some chemicals that will preserve, some preservatives that will keep the food. So it looks good because it's not getting rotten. But when this goes to our stomach, the same thing will happen there. Some of those things will not be processed as they should. We will not have access to the nutrients, and they will affect our digestive process and also affect our spirituality and the communication with the Lord. I want us to realize this. Why investing in a vegetable natural and not meat diet instead of eating meat or other kinds of diets. I want us to realize this. Some of our habits, before I talk about that, I want to mention a little detail. For instance, if you take a lion, if you realize a lion, he has some habits. He eats meat, but we will analyze some of the little differences between a lion and a human being. Well, if you realize first, most human beings say they eat meat, but in fact they are like a necrophagus, which is a scavenger, which is an animal that would eat a body that has died for a long time already. I want you to realize this with me. Look at this. Let's say we have an animal. We have a cow, okay? And now this cow, well, let's say, we're not going into the killing process. I don't want it to go into that. But let's say now, after this animal lost his life, what is the first thing we have to do after we prepare everything? What we have to do? We have to stick that animal where? Don't you know about it?
Freezer.
Okay, thank you, Linda. On the freezer. Why do we do that?
Preserve it.
Okay, otherwise, what will happen to that? It will spoil. So I want you to realize this. It's killed and it's taken right away to the freezer. Now, from the freezer, here comes the guy that has got the industry and he's going to distribute it in the city. And what he does, when they get that carcass, they take it right away and take it to a... Before the store, they have to put it somewhere. They cannot take it like that to the store. They have a little truck that is how inside. It's also a freezer, right? So you take it out of the freezer and stick it on the truck, which has a freezer. Then you take it to the store. And this guy goes fast. He takes it out and puts it right away on the freezer on the store. And then they take it to the shelves. How are those shelves? Freezers, yes. And it's there in the freezer. And then you come and watch. Sometimes I'm not going to talk. I'm not even going into some of the rough details like the spray to make a nice reddish color and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into those details. But this thing is there on the shelf, on the freezing shelf. And you take it, and sometimes we have little bags that also preserve the cold, and we buy it and stick it there. And as we take it, we get home, and what do? Put it on the freezer. And now, as you take it from the freezer, you're going to cook this. Now, is there a freezer in your stomach? Is there a freezer in your body? So, if you realize these things that were being prevented from deteriorating, they will now keep going with the natural process. The Bible will recommend God's people to eat the animal as close as possible to the moment when the animal was killed. Because after some hours on that, the amount of bacteria on that body will double, then triple, and then keep increasing. And after a while, this is really harmful for us. If you realize a lion will never eat an animal that has died for a long time. He has to kill and eat. Only, vultures and these kind of animals, scavengers, will eat a dead body that is there. They don't even care about how long it's been there. But a carnivore will not do that. A lion will not do that. So some people believe I'm a carnivore, but this is not a carnivore habit. And if you see the people of Israel, they have some counsels on how to kill the animal. None of those counsels are followed nowadays by the meat industry. And I'm not going into kosher diet or things like that, but of course those counsels from God are to protect our health. And The way the animal dies is stressful. The way the animal lives in the industry is stressful. All those things, we are getting it. I'm not even talking, we'll talk a little bit about that, about some of the diseases and problems that are coming into the industry, and even some of the things that are considered natural or acceptable and are approved are not recommended by God as habits for us. So I want us to realize this. A lion first won't eat an animal that has died for a long time, as we do. Because this animal that was going from freezer to freezer is now on our dish. Is going to be swallowed and is going to stay in our stomach. But there's a difference. The animal that is killed by a lion, the length of his intestines is 3 times his size. Which means that that meat that came in is going to fast be thrown out. The length of the intestines of a human being is 10 times our size. Which means that that meat that you ate from freezer to freezer is now going to stay there for a long time, back and forth and up and down, until the 10 times length of your body for it to come out. Throughout all this time, all the bacteria, all the problems that were in this process that started in the wrong way are going to come to you, are going to bring those diseases to you. And we have to realize, some people say, yeah, but the Lord never said anything about eating meat. Well, the Bible in fact has a passage that says that it's good not to eat meat nor drinking wine. But we are not even going into that. I'm going into understanding that those times have nothing to do with our times. The animal deterioration, the industry factor, the way people are preparing these foods nowadays. And also, if you realize, this is something very serious. Very seldom with a Hebrew, with an Israelite, eat meat. It was more related into the spiritual ceremonials. And if you realize, you see, for instance, there's a parable where Jesus is saying this man had a little party, and he invited his friends, and he sent his servants to tell them, I've killed a calf, you may come. And if you read there, sometimes you don't understand because we don't know those habits. But what happened in those days is that before killing a calf, you have to have enough people that will eat that right away. And you have to make sure, because it was so expensive to kill that animal, that you will not just afford this like that. So what a man will do, if he wants to have a celebration, he will send his servants to tell everyone, I want to have a little celebration that day. Will you come? Can I count on you? And they will confirm, yes, I will go or I will not go. So when I know I have enough people, I then settle that date for the special celebration. And at the so coming date, I will kill the calf and they will all come. So it was very impolite for these people not to come because they had already agreed on coming on that day. But this is another subject. I just want us to realize that it was very rare. During the time in the desert, it was forbidden for them to be killing and eating animals. But even when that will happen, it has nothing to do with our habits. Something happened very, very strange, is that, we will talk about that later on. Our pyramids, food pyramids, have gotten inverted, reversed. Because in those days, people will eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of rice and beans, a lot of whatever food, and once in a while, some meat. But nowadays, our diet goes exactly the other way around. When you go to a restaurant and you ask, what is for today? Lamb, chicken. Nobody talks about rice and beans. That's just the other way around. Instead of the meat being what will help you with the food, is the food that is what will help you with the meat. We reversed everything. So we have a large amount of meat, some rice or some other thing, and just a lettuce leaf or some tomato. But it should be the other way around, because then a lot of problems will come. Meat eaters have more constipation in the intestinal sequence than if you eat vegetables that will in fact help everything to go faster. So you retain the meat for a long time. In fact, when I decided to become vegetarian, and I'm not saying that vegetarians cannot get problems. Sometimes many problems come from other things, even from stress or from eating too fast. But the first thing that a person will notice, the first thing that I notice, is that my intestines will work much better, much faster. And I didn't have any problems before, but I noticed that increased. So I want us to realize some of those aspects and some habits we should check out. Another habit that people many times don't pay attention, if you realize what we were saying about the digestive process, not only the diseases, but the hard way to communicate spiritually, we need all the strength that we can get. We need all the alertness that we can get for those days to face the enemy and all the struggles that are coming up. But some other habits, well, this is not the big problem in the U.S., but in many other places, people eat very lightly on breakfast. But I've met some people also in the U.S. that say, I don't eat breakfast. My first big meal is like lunchtime or something like that. Well, this is not a good habit, because I usually say, I even joke and say, all you eat throughout the day will go to your stomach. What you eat by night will go straight to, to your waist. And the reason why is that is because I usually use this example. If you have a car, when are you most likely needing to fuel the car? When you're going to use it, or when you're going to park it in the garage or garage? You say garage here, right? Yeah, British says garage, right? And so most of us, our vehicle in the garage, then we sit and relax and eat all of that stuff, and then go to sleep and wonder why we have nightmares and bad dreams, or why we didn't rest enough. You may try this. I've tried this. We decided to skip the last meal. And in fact, you shouldn't eat your last meal. If you're less than 3 hours from going to sleep, you shouldn't eat your meal. And the last meal, if you have it, should be a very light one, and not closer to 3 hours from going to sleep. I want us to realize this. If you try to do this, in the beginning it will be a little bit hard, but you'll notice that the first thing that will happen is that when you wake up, you want to eat like a lion, because, well, not like a lion, I would say like an elephant, because lions will be more as a carnivore, and in breakfast we will go into many other things. But I want us to realize this. Sometimes you wake up, the first thing you notice when you ate by night is that your breath is not as fresh as it could be. Because all those things is like you've eaten, and the stomach is now going to take care of all that. And then the brain is sending messages, hey, it's time to shut off. We're going to sleep. And so the stomach is like, but I'm still processing, and no, we cannot. So everything is being shut off, and the stomach will have to wait there with all that food, and the process is very slow all throughout the night. So this will not let our brain rest. It will not let our cells being, our body being all restored as it could, and we rest less and everything. So eating by night will not be a good idea. So when we park our car, we should have loaded the fuel a long time ago and not still be taking care of that. I want us to, this is probably what goes along with a lot of people. So, oh, in the morning I don't feel like eating. Of course, after all you loaded, you still have to process that. So when you wake up, the stomach goes back to all these intense activity and the body and the digestive process. So you don't feel like eating because now first you have to solve that. That's why only by mid-morning or late morning then you start thinking about something, or just on lunchtime. So I want us to realize this. Another thing that I want to talk about is there's a lot of discussions about how many meals you should have. Well, many people will say that, I forgot about a little detail. This will also affect your spiritual life, and that's what we are trying to focus tonight. This will affect very much your spiritual life. First, because you don't rest, you have bad dreams, you're not clean as you go to sleep, you're not in fresh communication, sometimes the last prayer as we go to sleep is the one where we revise our days, we confess our sins, but your mind is all clouded. It's not being able to process any spiritual thing. Then you wake up with this morning asthenia, and you're not feeling like anything, and you go to your devotional, but your brain is all clouded. You want to pray, and you can't concentrate. Then you want to study your Bible, but it's like you're not getting what is written there. You have to read once and twice and 3 times, and your brain is not processing because the stomach is still filled up and the digestive process is still going on. So your brain is not 100%, and all the things that are happening through your body and with the food are blocking your communication with God. So the quality of your spiritual life will decrease. But I was saying, and some other people will talk about how many times you should eat. A lot of people will recommend that you should have short meals many times a day. Now, there's something that we must consider as we consider our body and the way the stomach goes. Some other trend in medicine and some other specialists will say that it will be better to eat less times a day, no more than 3 times a day. Now, this will be a hard nut to crack for many people, because some people feel like if I feel like eating, I open the fridge and go there. And so sometimes the door that needs the more oiling is the fridge door, because it's open and closed so many times. Well, in everything in life, you have to have a sequence, a structure. Just imagine you're at home and, I feel like shopping, and I shop. Or I feel like going outside. I feel like cracking the window. You don't do whatever you feel like. And most of the things you feel like, it's because you have habits. Your stomach, if it's used to eat at every time, it will always be popping up and say, hey, can we have some more food? Can we have some more food? It's not really that you need to eat. It's just that you're used to it, and the stomach got used to that. Habits can be worked out, and I want you to realize this. Just imagine you have a laundry machine, okay? So you know what's a laundry machine? Everyone here, right? Okay, I was wondering if I know also, sometimes I go there, although not that often. But let's say I have, men sometimes they are not good with the laundry. And so let's say I come and sometimes in the man mind, it's like this. I took those socks and I stick them in the laundry machine and just wash them. Is this a good habit? My socks are dirty. Or I take a shirt and let's wash it. So your laundry machine will do this. Receive the socks and go, ready. It was just socks. Is that what your laundry machine will do? What will it do? Even if you put the shortest program, it was and you're like, well, come on, machine. That's why it's just a pair of socks. Why are you taking so long? Because it doesn't matter what you stick in there. it will at least take the shorter program, right? Well, your stomach does the same. It has a sequence to work. And so sometimes you're not realizing and you're thinking, oh, it's not a problem. I'm just eating a cookie and so it's like this. Let's revise the stomach-brain interaction. You are already open the cookies and the brain says cookies and sends the warning to the stomach. Cookies coming! And here's the stomach starts preparing and sending all these juices and acids to digest. And when it's already in boiling, you start chewing that cookie. And then suddenly, here comes the cookie. And the stomach had all those acids. And now that cookie will go in 2 seconds. And not literally, you understand. But will disappear quickly. And then the stomach is just there with all this acid. And that was it. But you will have to go at least the shorter program. If there's no such a thing as just a pair of socks or a pair of cookies and I'm done. So realize this. All this time your stomach is working and your digestive process was activated for something that will disappear very fast. We'll have all those axes there. And for something that will keep your brain not 100%, at least for 1 hour and a half or 2. Because although you're not still with your socks there in the laundry machine, the socks are clean already in the very first minutes, but you're still going to wait for the entire program. So happens with your stomach. And now look at this. Let's say I am your stomach, okay? And now, let's say that as a stomach, I will work in an office. Let's say you're working and your boss comes with a pile of paper and say, hey, I want you to stamp all these, revise them and stamp them, please. And you say, okay. And you start, and revise, it's okay, and when you think, oh, I only have 5 to go, then he comes again, the boss. Hey, I brought you another 100 for you to do this. What? 100? I thought I was done. Okay, 100. And you start, and when you're almost done, here comes the boss again. Oh, I get more 50 or 70. And you're like, would you like that? So this is what we do to our stomach. Here starts the shorter program, which is at least 1 hour and a half or 2, I don't know. Even if it's not digesting anything properly or necessarily there, I mean. But then when he's almost done, you load him again. And when he's almost done, you load him again. So let me ask you this. Let's say you have a laundry machine and your neighbor has another laundry machine. They are the same brand, same model, everything the same. Your neighbor waits and loads specific times and specific loads of clothing in the laundry machine. And you don't. Whatever. You take your socks, stick in there, shorter program. Take your shirt, stick it there, shorter program. Take whatever you want, and which machine will last longer and with a better condition to work? Some people, if you see some videos that you will find on the internet, and I'm not talking about weird stuff, but you will see some doctors that work with intestines and stuff like that. Sometimes you will see the intestine years old. He looks like an ancient person because never stops. Because some of them, some people, even before they go to bed, they still load another short socks or shirt. Or even they wake up, I feel like eating. I mean, in the middle of your sleep, if you feel like eating, it's because you're not sleeping smoothly. It's your habit. As you eat many times, the stomach will call you up because, I mean, what about eating something? What do you say, John? So here we go again. And your stomach, some people, their stomach never stops. You will never have positive spiritual life like that because then your brain is never 100%. Never in full power with spiritual communication. So we have to realize those things as we go into those habits. And plus, your stomach your digestive process will open up very fast and be worn out. And that will affect your spirituality. Just some other tips that we have to realize. We are going to talk about the importance of drinking water But some people, and sometimes, we go into drinking a lot of water with our meal. I want us to realize what is the problem about that and what does it have to do with spirituality. I'm not saying if you drink water in your meal, you will not go to heaven. But you will surely have a hard time responding to many spiritual things, and that can affect. Okay? So, but I want us to realize this. Your stomach, as your laundry machine, is very organized. So, when you eat food, it will separate the liquid from the solid food. Now, if you are eating and drinking at the same time, all this solid food will be floating around and, until the stomach can process the liquid, and then he will take care of the salt, which means your digestive process got longer. Second problem, as we said, many of the things we eat should be digested in the mouth with the help of the saliva we have and all that we, with our taste buds, will produce to help with our
taste.
Yeah, the taste buds, right? Did I say that? No, the taste buds will taste the food. Glandules that will produce and help with the saliva and help the digestive process create the glands. Thank you. I felt something was not right with the word. With our glands that will produce all that saliva and create what we will take as a digestive process with bread or things like that. Now, if you eat and drink, the first thing is that those glands will become lazy. They will start feeling like we are not used. Well, you know, they don't need us, and so they'll stop doing it. So when you're used to eat and you decide eat and drink, and you decide to cut on the drinks, the first thing you'll notice is like you feel like you're dying and drawing, and it's getting very dry in your mouth because the glands are not used to. If you give them some time, they will get back into it. But this will help first not affect those foods that are digested in the mouth. Those foods they don't need this kind of help. This is not helping. The best way with your drinking habits, we should not drink before, if we are 30 minutes to eat, we should not drink any longer. And after finishing, we should wait and give some time, at least 2 hours, for the digestive process to go, not to mix food or solid food with liquids. I'm not saying, and I'm not recommending, I'm just saying we understand if in a breakfast you eat something that is a little more liquid, your stomach will have some latitude to that. Or in a little celebration, you have something that is, but we should try to avoid this because this will delay our digestive process. This will block many of our systems in the digestive process, in the mouth, in the stomach, and everything. And will also affect the way our body will respond as 100% with our brain and everything. Well, I want to just point 2 more aspects and then we'll get back to our subject next time. But we are almost done for today. I would like to point some aspects. God created things to somehow help each other and go together. Okay? For instance, sugar, the sugar we get in the fruit, the way it's structured and the nutrients, it's prepared to neutralize the bad effects that some sugar would have in your body. When we take sugar apart, it's like intimacy out of the marriage. Some things they might be tasting good, but the complete effect of them is not positive. So we should watch out with the amounts of sugar. We spoke about that because sugar becomes like alcohol in your body, and all that will numb your mind, and your communication with God will be affected. Also, we have to realize about some intensively fat or oily food, because many of those things will also delay your digestive process, and that will affect the way your brain will respond to that. I'm trying to point some of the aspects that we have to consider here. So if you take some products in the market, you will realize, you try this. You go and try one brand with milk and another brand with whatever, and you bring the packages, try to find packages that will have the food pyramid. And you will realize that depending on what that brand is selling, they will put that the most they can on the base of the pyramid. So they will push it down to tell you that you should eat more of their products. So you have to watch out on where you're getting your references for food pyramids. Because as I said, some of those references, instead of bringing a food pyramid that will put fruits and vegetables in the bottom, and then rice, beans, corn, and all these cereals in the middle, and then seldomly, I'm not saying I'm recommending, I'm just showing that most of the people, they have this reversed. The things they should eat the last or the least are the thing this is what they eat the most. And the worst thing is that many of those things, they are kind of addictive. You feel like eating more and more and more. If you place some kinds of food before a child, and if you let the child choose, especially if the habits are twisted, you will realize that if you ask the child, it will reverse the pyramid also. Oh, I would like to have just a little bit, as much as I have from dessert, I would like to have in meat or in candy. And I'm sorry, I mixed it up. I wanted to say they would like to switch. They would like to have dessert as the meal, and whatever you have to eat as the dessert in terms of amount. So we cannot just follow our appetite. The good news is that our taste buds are renewed every 30 days. So if you create cycles of 40 days habit change, you will re-educate your taste buds. If you wonder, once I was invited to go by an Indian friend. He said, hey, do you want to go to an Indian restaurant? I say, yeah, sure. And here we go. And we get there, and he said, so now you have some spicy food you have to choose. You have to tell him if you want light, medium, or hot. I said, no way, no hot for me. I'm okay with light. And I'm glad I asked light, because that was hot for me. And he was asking something hotter, and he was having fun. And you wonder why sometimes you look at a Chinese food or an Indian food or some other nation's food, and you say, oh, how can they eat that? And they will look at us and say, oh, how can they eat that? Because we are raised with some habits, and our taste buds got used to that. And so we like what we eat, what we were raised with. And other people will like what they got used to. So we can re-educate our taste buds. There were many things that I used to like a lot. And as I cut them off my diet, I don't feel like eating them any longer, and they don't look appealing to me. And other things that I didn't like, and that they became appealing to me. So we can re-educate our taste buds and help them to eat the tastier thing. I just want to emphasize some things. I'm talking, for instance, about meat products and other very fat, oily, with a lot of cholesterol. You know, you don't find, when you eat vegetables, you won't have cholesterol, harmful cholesterol in your body, and all these things. Some of the things have changed so much. For instance, some statistics will show that girls will get mature. I'm sorry, mistake. Girls will get mature in 1850, or around that, in the 1800s, girls will get mature at the 60. at the age of 16. I'm sorry, I said 16. 16. That will be a little bit late to get mature. But even though that's not the kind of maturity I was talking about. At the age of 16. But with all the hormones and all the change and a lot of more meat-consuming products and the way things in the industry is going, in the 1900s, in the late 1900s, and almost in 2000, they will get to the same matureness around 11. Can you see how is this affecting our society, in a society that is increasing on sensuality and all these kind of sex appeal and all these kind of things promoted in music, in media and everything? Now girls look like women when their brain are not following up, so or they are not mature enough to face all those things. We are getting into a lot of problems, and some even hormonal problems with men because of the way they eat. I would like us to realize this. And our goal here is not to criticize anyone with their diet. It's up to you. I'm just sharing some tips that might help you increase your spirituality. And that is something you owe God, because God did everything for you. And it's something you owe yourself, because we all want to have a healthy spirituality and face the enemy and whatever challenges we have to face in this world and make it to be connected to God. I would like to show you some statistics that will help you realize how diet can affect results. Well, if you ask everyone, how long do you want to live? Oh, I would like to live longer. Some will say I would like to die young because I don't want to grow old. But the point is that if you grow old younger and healthier, you will not mind if you will live longer. I would like us to realize this. A diet that is regular, like omnivorous diet, if you just cut meat from your diet, statistics will show that your risk of a heart disease will decrease 44%, just cutting meat. Okay? Now, if you decide to be an ovo-lacto-vegetarian, which means that you don't eat meat, but you still eat some dairy food, cheese, eggs, even so, just for cutting all this, all the other kind of fish and everything, your heart disease chances will decrease 61%. If you decide to cut off milk, eggs, and cheese and all these very, very fat food and become more into a vegetables and fruits and raw food, invest. I'm not saying to be with a raw diet. I'm saying to invest in this kind of food, natural food. Your chances of a heart disease will decrease 86%. Now, I want to ask you something. What do you think God thinks about you having the chance to take better care of your body, the body He gave you, and not doing it? But even if we get God out of the picture, why would you always have to think like this. Like this man that was smoking, and they say, hey, you know that smoke will kill you slowly. And he said, it's okay, I'm not in a rush to die. Well, you might, when we are doing it and we don't see the consequences, it sounds funny. But when you look back and you're facing the consequences, then it's not funny at all. Then you wish you had taken better decisions, make better decisions in your life. So this is what we are talking about. Your spirituality, your health, not only living longer, but living with better health quality. We see nowadays problems are coming to the people at a younger age, and they have to face a lot of challenges with the food. And let's face it, there was a time that alternative food was not tasty at all. I remember the first time my father gave me soy milk, I thought he was poisoning me because it was really not tasty. I said, Daddy, is this healthy? Because I mean, if you're not in a good mood, you cannot be that healthy. And all those things were being developed, but nowadays, I mean, it's just as simple as getting used to it. And there's a lot of myths. And at my home, I'm thankful because the Lord provided me a good wife, as a good cook. And here is some samples of food without milk, without eggs, without bad sugar on it, and tasty and good looking. I tell you, some people say, oh, vegetarians suffer so much, and this is how much you suffer. Look at that. I'm suffering just to see them. You know, and I imagine when you eat them, we can eat a lot of good food. And just for us not to think it's only the sweets, here are some salty food, you know, not salty, how to say, savory, right? Savory food. That I'm not encouraging to go into salty food. But, you know, pizza, well, if you are not convinced yet, I would recommend you come to our fellowship dinner because we have wonderful cooks around here and a lot of good food. I would just close with something for you to consider. We were talking about the lion and the differences between a human being and a lion. Well, a lot of people talk about the way our teeth is prepared and the way an animal that will eat meat will have his teeth prepared. Look, this is an animal which doesn't eat meat. This is an animal that eats meat. You see the difference on the way the teeth are to cut the meat, to everything. So we can see that naturally the body is not responding in a way that will be friendly for the meat. And if you realize we look much more like this guy than like this guy, I bet. No, I mean, well, it's not that we look like them, but I'm talking about the teeth, okay? So you see, of course, it looks like there are a lot of them missing. It doesn't need to cut the meat and to go into all these things. I would like us to keep in mind, as I said, that the problem in this world started with food, and we had a lot of examples with the Israeli people in the desert, and one of them was when they condescended with appetite and decided all they asked for it, they were complaining about it, and God gave them. And they had no control upon it. Those who had control, they managed to satisfy appetite without going wild. So we see a lot of problems that we have to realize that are related with our spirituality. We mentioned Daniel. You might say, oh, what he has to do? Well, dare to be a Daniel. We are going to need much more than what Daniel had to face in his time to go for the challenges of this world. I want you to realize something, and we spoke about Jesus in the desert also, and the food temptation. It was not meat, but it was a food temptation. So we have to realize that with our appetite. I want us just to realize something, and we had some slides there. We're going to talk about that in the next session. I want us to realize something. We are coming to a time in which we need all the power our brain can have. We need to have it in the maximum capacity, efficiency. We need to be able to make decisions. Our frontal lobe has to be able to be powerful enough to say yes and no. And food is one of the main elements that will decrease, or if you don't condescend on it, will increase and help you have a better spirituality, a better power of will, a better communication with God, a better and stronger character that will help you overcome temptation and will help you be prepared for the challenges our world is facing and approaching. So some things are not too significant. But if you realize, sometimes we wonder, why is our lamp not shining so bright? And if people come and talk to us about food, we say, come on, it's just a detail. And then they come and talk to us about media, we say, oh, it's just a detail. And then they come and talk to us about some healthy habits, and we say, oh, come on, that's not a little thing that's going to make a difference. And then they come and talk to us about music, and we say, come on, it's just a detail. But if you put all of those details together, you will see that all the oil, all the Holy Spirit, all the power that the Lord is bestowing upon us to help us is being drained by little details. Little details here and little details there will make a huge detail. The Lord said, he that is faithful in little is faithful in much. So we have to realize that if we don't start taking care of those little details, they will make a big mess and bring down the fire that should be shining out from us. I would like to finish with the same sentence we shared last weekend. How Satan gains entrance to the soul. All should guard the senses, lest Satan gain victory over them. This is the way. For these are the avenues of the soul. He is doing his best to have access to us through those avenues. So we need to watch out. Now, I don't want to finish with a bad tone here. I want to encourage you. Sarah grew up, and for a long time, her father was taking care of a barbecue restaurant and will bring the best meat home. Even the dog will have high quality meat every day. It seems like someone that will never be able to leave meat behind, but today she doesn't miss it at all. In the beginning, it was not that easy, but it was not that hard either. As you can find a lot of nice food and good things that will help you overcome. And now she doesn't need it. I was, for a long time, as I usually play around, I was a McDonald's lacto-vegetarian, which means that I will eat more vegetables, but here and there I will go and eat some fast food. But now I'm happy without it, and healthier without it. So I would like us to consider this, and I'm here not to discourage you, but I'm here exactly to encourage you, showing you examples of people that eat happily than they used to eat before when they thought they had it all, and encouraging you to move forward, because the results on your health, the results on your spirituality, they pay for it. And there are a lot of myths about B12 and about, we will talk about those things later on. I just can tell you that statistics show that problems with B12 are in the same percentage among those who eat meat and among those who don't eat meat. So this is not the factor that is affecting B12. And some people say, oh, it's not healthy food, it's not. Taste buds can be educated. You can even like to eat mice and dogs or anything, and snakes. And I'm not criticizing nobody's diet, but I'm saying, if for us, in our culture, it's not appealing, but it may be for others, because it depends on what you are educated with. People in Asia, they don't eat, for instance, yogurt in many places because they think it's rotten milk. And for us, it's a gourmet many times. So I want to encourage you. The Lord wants to empower you, and He's challenging you to trust Him that He will help you overcome all those things and live healthier, longer, happier than ever, and win spirituality. May the Lord bless you. Let us finish with the word of prayer. I will invite you to kneel if you can. If you can't, is okay. I would like to pray for you and for me and for myself and my family, for all of us. Dear Father in heaven, thank you because Since the beginning, you've always taken care of your people and give us all the advice we need. You said to the Israeli people, if you follow my lead, I will not let none of those diseases that the Egyptians have come to you. And you were faithful. And we can trust you and know that if we are faithful and follow your advice, we will be like Daniel 10 times wiser. And we will be enjoying good health, living longer, and with good quality, we'll be able to